Hello everyone, this is your girl Rita coming to you with another video on today. Today I am doing another review for the new Netflix docuseries called Money Explained. Today I'm reviewing episode 2, which is talking about credit cards. Now, before we jump into the video, I just want to remind you to please remember to subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so, and if you find this information helpful and my content interesting and helpful as well. Also, if you're already subscribed, please feel free to like the video, because that definitely helps out my channel and gets it out to more and more people. Currently, I have a goal where I am trying to reach 500 subscribers. So I would greatly appreciate it if you would help me to reach that goal. All right. Oh, and the last thing, also follow me on IG at Gold Digger Chick, where you'll get more regular content from me and more regular updates. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the video talking about credit cards. So the overview of this particular episode, it talked about like how credit cards came about, the types of people who have credit cards, or how the credit card company classifies them. It also talked about how the credit card companies make money, as well as some of their marketing tactics and techniques that they use. So let's jump into it. So first off, credit cards came about basically, I think it was in September of 1958 in Fresno, California. What happened is Bank of America chose 60,000 residents, and they just sent out a credit card to them, and they told them, hey, you have this amount of money on it and you can use it to buy the middle class lifestyle and buy whatever you like. So that's how it came about. Now, since then, credit card companies cannot just send cards to people, but as you can see, they definitely send you offers to entice you into getting a credit card. Now, when this first came about, the first few years, the credit card companies lost money from this. I think they actually lost $15 million. So they were like, hey, we got to perfect our technique, get a little bit better. Now, today, the credit card industry is worth $2.4 trillion with a T. $1 trillion today, and studies show that 40% of Americans have credit card debt, and 10% of Americans feel like they're going to have credit card debt until they die, because they don't see how they are going to be able to pay it off. Now, with the advent of credit cards, that is ultimately what brought about the credit score, how the credit score came about. So what happened was, prior to the credit score and prior to credit cards, like say if you went to a bank and you wanted a loan, they pretty much use subjective techniques or subjective measures to develop if they were going, or decide if they were going to lend you money or give you a loan. They said they used the 3 C's, which were capacity, your ability to pay back the loan, capital, like how much did you have in savings or what kind of stuff did you own, and your character. So if you were a person of good character, then you probably got the loan or whatever. So it definitely showed that most loans were given to white males. So it kind of kept minorities and black people out from being able to get loans, which is like a whole nother story that I will have to get into another video where we talk about wealth and wealth gap, and as it relates to race and all that kind of stuff. Also at this time, I think women weren't even allowed to have credit or credit cards. I think that came about maybe 10, 15 years later, where they could do that. Okay. So that was pretty much how they determined how you got a loan or whatever. Eventually, as computers became more readily available and they could use different computing techniques and stuff like that, that is eventually how the credit score came about, based off of your spending habits, based off of your repayment habits. They could easily better track how good of a borrower you were in order to give you different loans. Okay, now keep in mind, credit card companies, since the inception of it, have done a lot of research to study our habits when it comes to spending, when it comes to how we repay debt. So they have a lot of information on us regarding our behaviors and what to expect. And because of that, they have pretty much lumped us into two different categories called transactors and revolvers. The transactors are those people who maybe they use their credit card, but they pay off their balance in full every month. The revolvers are people who use their credit card, but they don't pay off their balance in full. Now, the transactors make up 40% of people, and the revolvers make up 40% of people, and the remaining 20% are people who don't have a credit card, okay? Now, the way credit card companies make money is that they make money off of the merchant fee. So if you own your own business, you know that you have to pay a percentage to the credit card company for whenever someone swipes a card. You see it with Square and that kind of thing. So if you have Square, you can pass that charge on to the actual customer. If not, you kind of eat that charge as the person who is selling the product or whatever. So that's how the credit card companies make money. And they also make money off of the interest that, that we're paying as consumers. Now, with that being said, there was a statistic that said Americans paid Hey, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Gold Digger Chick. I look forward to seeing you all over there. And as always, check out my Etsy shop. And coming soon, I am going to have some new merch for all of my fellow gold diggers. $121 billion in interest to credit card companies. That to me is just astounding and crazy, because that's only the money they are making on interest. Imagine the money they're making from the merchant fees, because every time you swipe the card, they're making some kind of money from the merchant. So whether or not you pay that credit card off or not, or make your payment, they're taking money from the merchant. And yes, it might be small, like 2.5 or 3% or 3.5% or whatever, but that adds up every time you swipe or whatever, and that's the amount of money that they are making. Now, they also had another group of consumer that they call the credit card hacker, and that is someone who pretty much kind of hacks the system and is able to, they pay off their balance in full every month, and they accumulate the points, and they use the points for travel, hotel, that kind of stuff. Those are called the hackers, and those kind of people, the credit card companies actually lose money on them because they know how to kind of work and navigate the system. Now, here is a shocking fact that I found, because if you've been following me, you may or may not know that pretty much I try to use cash majority of the time. Even if I don't use cash, I'm usually using my debit card. I have gotten away from using credit cards, but they had a study that found that customers who use cash are actually giving households that use cards $1,000 every year. The reason for this is because credit cards cost all of us. Because those merchants have to pay fees, they usually increase the price of their goods and services to kind of help cover the cost of the credit card fees. So if you are someone who is mainly paying in cash, you are paying the inflated fee because they, they've already, the price is usually what's the word I'm looking for? Uniform across all boards for everyone. The only time you see a difference in that is like when you go to the gas station. You see how the gas might be, 10 cents, 5 cents less if you pay with cash or with debit or something like that compared to the credit cards or whatever. So credit cards, even if you're not using them, it is costing all of us because the businesses are increasing their fees to kind of help offset some of those credit card costs. Now, they also talked about the repayment when it comes to credit card and how some changes had to be made in regards to that to help people not be so stuck in credit card debt. If you ever looked at your statement, it shows like there, like if you made a minimum payment, how long it would take you, and then if you made a little bit more than the minimum payment, like you could get it paid off a little bit sooner, and it lists that. That was a law that was passed that required them to start putting that on there, because what credit cards do is that they just ask that you pay the minimum fee, and oftentimes this is only 3% of your total amount that you owe. That's it. So if you owe, I don't know, $500, then all they're really asking you to pay is, I won't say $15, because the minimum is 3% or $25, whichever one is higher or whatever. So they're asking you just to pay 3%. So if your balance was $1,000, then all they're going to ask you to pay is $30 to pay off your credit card. And if you think about that, if all you're paying is 3% every month, they're doing that so that eventually, the interest just keeps building and building and building, and they're just making more and more money. So yeah, I always wondered, I won't say I always wondered, but I wondered how they came up with what your minimum payment is. And now knowing like, oh, it's only 3%. So if you see that 3% and it's more than what you think you can pay, that means you are probably using your credit card a little too much. So just keep that in mind. Now, with that being said, a lot of Americans are in credit card debt, and another study shows, and it has often been quoted because I've heard it before, that 30% of Americans can't come up with $400 to cover an emergency. So they end up using their credit cards as an emergency fund whenever an emergency situation arises. So make sure you have an emergency fund so you don't have to use your credit cards. But that was pretty much what was discussed in episode 2 when it talked about credit cards. Hopefully you gained some information about how credit cards work, how they make their money, and what the different tactics they use, and how they classify us as consumers when we're using their credit cards. So make sure you subscribe, like the video, and follow me on IG at Gold Digger Chick. I will have another video coming out of reviewing episode 3 of Money Explained, and I encourage you to check it out on Netflix as well. All right, take care.